Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming this morning. Thanks for the introduction. Appreciate it. I don't have a picture of me in a black tie on my it. So I'm Cassie. I'm Cassie Sistens, and I'm Chief Operating Officer at Amberjack, and been with the business for many years and seen it through evolution from when I joined, which was a very pure kind of play graduate recruitment partner called GradWeb. I don't remember GradWeb, and sort of transformed over the years really into a more kind of broader organisation, supporting organisations through high volume recruitment campaigns with our kind of roots in early careers. And I think what we really wanted to do today was kind of share with you a little bit before we move on to our guest speakers about what we do, how we support, and how we've taken that kind of proposition and expanded it into the kind of volume recruitment space. So I've got some colleagues. There's probably one on every table, not to sell to you, just to kind of support and chat with you. The head of sales is on that table over there. So, but no, it's very much today about partnership, sharing ideas, and taking things away that we can put into practice back in the office, wherever that may be. So today we're going to cover kind of 4 key areas that we wanted to discuss, and our kind of client partners that are with us today from Octopus Energy and from Network Rail are going to talk a little bit about how we kind of evolved and supported their recruitment processes, looking at all of these kind of different areas of support, from attraction, assessment, candidate experience, and that kind of onboarding piece. All of them play a really critical part. For us, it's from the very beginning, how you're engaging with a candidate, what you're talking to them about to ensure that they select into that process. We support then that selection through the process, and critically the onboarding to ensure that they remain engaged throughout that kind of recruitment process. What can we do to ensure that they don't choose you over somebody else, or choose somebody else over you, should I say. So really a little bit about us and our kind of end-to-end capabilities. I talked about the kind of evolution of the business from the early days of really specialist technology, we started as an ATS provider that built out specific technology to handle high volume applications. The biggest issue, I think, in the room, high volume applications, how do we then sift those candidates through? So we've since then built out a full end-to-end capability for the clients that we work with. So we support across attraction from that first point of contact through to that candidate beginning to apply to that client organisation, and taking them through that journey, assessing them, supporting them, coaching them, rejecting them. And rejecting them is just as important as how you kind of offer them, actually. We've got our own in-house assessment team that design out assessment methodologies, which Martin here, my colleague, head of assessment, is going to talk to you a little bit about. And that can be tailored or off the shelf, depending on what the client need might be. And we deploy those assessments throughout the process, right through to assessment centre. Then it's all about, for us, the pre-hire engagement. How do we ensure that these candidates that have been selected and are right for you as an organisation stay in that process? So there are a number of different tactics that we deploy, all tech enabled, but also kind of outreach to candidates as well. So we support through our learning and development team, immersive learning programs from the point of offer. We believe that learning experience begins then. So we begin to develop those candidates, particularly those that are first to role, early in their career. Really important to ensure they're kind of work ready. So the different areas that we support go end to end. Some of our clients tap into every aspect of what we do, and other clients might buy into 2 or 3 areas of support where they have that need, where they don't have their own in-house capability. Everything that we do is supported by tech. As you would expect, when you're dealing with high volume, tech is critical. How you deploy that tech, how you assess through that tech, and how you engage with that tech. So we're going to talk to you through the case studies with our clients about how that all kind of comes together. So that's us in a nutshell. I didn't do our vision statement because you did that so beautifully, better than we could do. So thanks very much for that on Watch and Learn. So what we wanted to do today was really talk about what we've learned from the early careers market. It's really a specialist space. For those that have worked in it in this room, you'll know that kind of high touch candidate engagement, helping candidates understand, how to get through a recruitment process. Often it's their first time, but actually more importantly for us, when we look at the methodology that we deploy to recruit in high volume spaces, what works in early careers can also work in experienced hire. And we've begun to, over the years, deploy that with some of our existing clients and new clients that have come on board, that kind of methodology that works so well when you're dealing with high volume candidates for specific types of roles. What can we learn from that to bring into that space? And the clients that we've got today are going to talk to you about just that. So sort of starting really with what we've got in terms of bespoke and engaging marketing, our attraction solution that we have that Octopus are going to talk to you as part of that mix. From our experience in early careers, employers place a huge amount of importance on that initial engagement with candidates, and you'll have all seen the kind of high spend attraction activity that goes on campus particularly, but there is so much more to engaging candidates into your kind of employer brand than that. So what we look at is utilising talent analytics and insights to ensure that we're putting the right messaging into the right places to drive those candidates into the pipelines that we work with. And we lean really heavily on storytelling in that messaging. So what does it mean to work for this organisation? What does it look like? How will it feel? Are there people here like me? To really help people select into that process. And that tactic and that methodology works just as well in high volume recruitment in experienced hire as it does in early careers. Rather than that kind of scattergun and hope and pray approach that you do see a lot on things like LinkedIn. LinkedIn does play a part, but actually it's so much more than that. And we're going to show you through our Octopus sort of case study, if you like, the sophisticated talent analytics that we've used to widen their talent pool in what is a really competitive competitive market space. Then we look at potential over experience. That's kind of our kind of what we do from an assessment perspective. It's all about the identification of potential. This man to my left, Martin Kavanagh, not Kavanagh QC, our head of assessment, I'm going to hand to him because he can talk a lot more coherently, I believe, than I can about this.
Thank you.
Do you want to stand up? Oh, okay.
Hopefully,
perch to the side.
To talk coherently about this. So you'll see all around the room highlighted to talk about the experts in assessing for potential. So we're the only assessment provider that has a model, behavioural models designed from first principles to assess high volume roles, early career roles, and roles where you don't need any prior experience. So I won't bore you with the technical side of the model. Very happy to follow up on that after the session. But I suppose talking about the ethos of potential, two quite simple examples. So I think we've all been in a group exercise, perhaps, where it's designed in such a way that the person who grabs the pen and says, I'll manage the time, immediately hits an indicator and scores really well. The person who says, that's a really good point, let me build on that, immediately scores really well. They know to do that because they've been coached and prepared in certain ways. Another example, and I benefited from this myself when I was applying for graduate programs, is that certain people benefit from having certain extracurricular activities. So I was the lead trombone player in a jazz band. All that meant is I handed out folders at the start of the rehearsal, but I was able to spin that out and watch as the assessors were like, "Oh, that's wholesome. That's impressive." I was only able to do that because my parents could afford to give me trombone lessons, and I lived in an area that had a really good music academy. There was nothing that would show that I am able to do that graduate role. So when we're building assessments, we are completely focused on taking that side out of it and making sure that we are genuinely assessing for potential. It's simple things like scenario-based questions rather than past experience questions, simple tools like that, which can really change how you're assessing individuals. And I think you hear from the Octopus Energy and Network Rail speak, that will sort of come through in the discussions that we're doing. So that's absolutely tied to ensuring diversity and inclusion. And then our final assessment principle is we see assessment as an extension of attraction. So there's a problem in volume recruitment processes, and it was interesting to see on the Slido poll, employer branding came up as the third biggest challenge. Our candidates don't know they're completing an Amberjack assessment. So we don't have the problem that you see in high volume processes where candidates might say, I completed the SHL assessment or the Shaw's assessment. I can't necessarily remember which employer that was for. We create what we call consumer grade experiences where we promote the brand and build on the attraction activity. So again, keep that in mind as you're seeing and hearing the examples that we're speaking through today. And then the final, on the next slide, just wanted to talk through, we are a full end-to-end provider of services, which from an assessment perspective, creates a bit of a challenge to what I've had in previous roles in my career, where if the assessment doesn't look like it's working, I can blame the attraction function or say something's gone wrong further up the pipeline. Often with our clients, we don't have that luxury. So if there's something going wrong in the volume pipeline, we need to fix it. So to look at how we're doing, This is the model that we use, which is endorsed by the British Psychological Society, presented at their conference. These are the 4 key areas that predict success in a volume recruitment process. So we ask ourselves at the end of every campaign, has it resulted in stronger candidates at the later stages of the assessment process? Has it had a positive impact on candidate engagement? Really critically, number 3, given what was coming up on the Slido poll, is it as efficient as possible in terms of candidate time and recruiter time in transacting? And has it ensured a healthy pipeline throughout the process? So as standard in our account management package, at the end of a campaign, we would answer those 4 questions and show that it's working. So again, I'd encourage you to keep those in mind as you hear the examples come through, and you'll hear people talking throughout the day, and they will all be themed around those 4 areas. So I'll hand back over to Cassie.
Thanks, Martin. For just a couple more things to touch on before we move into the panel discussion. The other things that we've learned from early careers in high volume recruitment is tech integration. So those of you that have worked in high volume recruitment, early careers or otherwise, will know that technology and sophisticated applicant tracking systems and candidate management systems play a really key part in the success of those. You cannot manage high volume on some platforms. You certainly can't manage it on Excel spreadsheets without lots and lots of errors and impact on candidate experience. So for us, it's really important to have a sophisticated technology application that can manage a candidate through a process, give them a good experience with sort of high visibility of what stage they're at in the process, an understanding of how they're moving through, what comes next. But from a recruiter perspective, the ability to report, look at what's happening in real time, to understand how your pipelines are performing. Is there any adverse impact? Are we losing people at a certain stage? What can we do in the moment to change that? So delivering a system to support high volume recruitment that can give you that data to make those decisions is really critical. And finally, Martin mentioned about candidate experience. And, that's everything for us, because when we're working with clients, we're representing their brands. Amberjack doesn't exist. So for us, it's really important that they come away feeling that Octopus Energy, Network Rail, gave them a good experience regardless of the outcome. And in high volume, we are in the business actually of rejecting the majority of applications that have applied to a role. You saw at the beginning, that's kind of your key issue, the number of applicants you get. Sometimes they don't particularly want to work for you. They're just doing a scattergun approach, or it's AI doing it. But, regardless of that, they need to come away feeling they've got something in that process. So we ensure we deploy feedback at every stage digitally. So there's personalised digital feedback that comes through. Later down a process, you'll actually get a human giving you feedback if you've been at an assessment event or an assessment centre, to ensure you take something from that process, you learn from it, and you can kind of move on, either to come and try again another time or to take that to a new recruitment situation. We measure through NPS at every stage of the process in our tech how that's felt from a candidate perspective. We feed that back to our delivery teams. We feed that back to our clients to ensure that any touches we need to make to improve on that candidate experience is there and done. So I'm just going to now, I think we're on time, give you the opportunity to put some questions to us to kind of go back to later after the kind of client session. So anything that you particularly want to ask of us or of our speakers during the course of today, I think if I click, it's going to give me that little thing again, QR code. There we go. You might have to come close again to get that scanned in, but please do begin to submit questions, and then we'll go back to those later.
I'm the head of attraction for Amberjack, and I'm responsible for all of our client campaigns that are trying to drive candidates into the process in a volume way. We do majority of our work, obviously, in the early careers market, but I'm here today with Sarah, the head of people operations for Octopus Energy Services, and we're going to have a chat with you about our relationship. We have been working together for nearly a year now.
Yeah.
And we have been tasked with trying to hire thousands of experienced and qualified tradespeople. So this could be electricians, plumbers, heating engineers. I'm putting it out there just in case anybody knows anybody.
Yes.
That's part of my attraction strategy. But Sarah, I don't know if you want to just introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah Jones, and I've been with Octopus just over a year now. It's a very different industry for me. I've been in recruitment for very many years, specifically volume recruitment, but mainly across airline and IT. And kind of taking on the challenge to work for Octopus was a massive challenge. We've got some really ambitious hiring targets that need to be hit. And we're still regarded as a bit of a startup. So even though we've been kind of operating for 6 to 8 years now, we are actually still very much in the early phases of development. So there's processes that I'm used to working with that we just don't have at Octopus. So it's been a difficult time, but we've obviously been working with Amberjack to try and refine those processes and help us identify talent and try and get those numbers up as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
Cool. So we're gonna go Q&A style. We'll see how we get on.
Okay.
This is how our relationship generally works, so you should be fine. But Sarah's just mentioned she's been at Octopus Energy Services for a little over 12 months, so starting in December, the end of 2023. So my first question really is, could you give us a little insight into how you started to identify challenges within your area of the business and decide what changes needed to be made and the priority in which they sort of needed making?
Okay, so the way that Octopus Energy's volume hiring is split is that there are 2 distinctive areas. So we've got your kind of plumbing and installer areas, which are air source heat pump. I won't go into the technicalities with you, but it's a big piece of what we do. And then the other part of that volume hiring relies on electricians and smart meter engineers to go out to customers' houses. Now, one part of the business...
Oh, we've unmiked.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry, Sue.
Right.
Thank you.
I think some more for the filming. You can hold it if you prefer.
I will hold it if that's okay. I'll just slip it back on. I think it'll be okay. I just need to stop being so handsy and then it won't come off. So one part of the business, which is the air source heat pump volume part of the business, they are managed fully, so all of the recruitment end to end, by our talent acquisition team at Octopus Energy. The other part of the business, which is your smart meter engineers and your electrician hiring, which is huge, like in the thousands, was actually managed by the business area. So what I identified very quickly was that the business area that were managing that were just relying heavily on agency to do all of that recruitment, which was taking us into the millions in terms of spend. And anybody that works in volume recruitment knows that it's just not sustainable. You cannot be relying on, agency to fulfill that. There's so many risks that come with that as well. Candidate experience is impacted. Cost obviously is the biggest thing. And what I had to do very quickly was try and understand what their approach was. Having worked in agency in my early days of my career, over 20 years ago, agency tend to just kind of, let's just see what we can get. They'll go on job boards, they'll use CV libraries. It's just like, let's just hammer it and see how many people we can get in. There was no attraction strategy set up for that business area whatsoever. And they weren't having an Octopus experience. So it was that area of the business that drove me to reach out to Amberjack and say, look, this is what we need. I'd worked with Amberjack previously at the last company that I worked for, and I knew that their services were going to absolutely reshape our recruitment processes. So what I had to do very quickly, we're very fast at Octopus. Amberjack would agree. We always need everything yesterday. But we had to very quickly put an attraction strategy in place. But we had to start at our website, because our website was, it wasn't user friendly. It was kind of a global website that took candidates on a little bit of a journey trying to find the right kind of jobs. And we enlisted Amberjack to create a kind of landing page for us where candidates could actually find the roles that they were looking for very, very, very easily. And then we needed to look at how we could actually start targeting our business areas. We used a labour market analytics to do that, which Amberjack did for us, to try and identify what the market was looking like, so that we could actually say back to the business, look, this is our pool. This is what it looks like. These are going to be our challenges. We need to do X, Y, Z, or we will not reach this number. So again, Amberjack did that for us. So I suppose that part of the business was our critical business area. We've reduced agency spend to 0. So there is no agency spend, it's gone. And just to let you know, it was around 6 million. So it was humongous. And then what we did from that piece of work was we then looked at air source heat pump, which is our other area, which talent look after. And we also did an attraction strategy for them as well. We also then embedded our smart meter and electrician piece of the business back into talent acquisition. So talent acquisition are responsible, as they should be, for that business area and looking after that candidate journey, making sure that they're part of the assessment framework, etc. So we've done that in, I'd say it's been a year, but actually probably 6 months, isn't it, really?
To 6 to 9 months, I think, in reality.
Yeah, it's been a bit crazy. So those two business areas are kind of our biggest, but then we also decided that we would do it across our sales and customer ops division as well. So, and that's been super successful. Again, a business area that were kind of half looking after their own recruitment, and talent acquisition were part of it as well, but they weren't actually managing it end to end fully. And that's now all shifted into talent acquisition, where it absolutely should be.
So we've heard actually from attendees, I think in the pre-registration questions, one of the key challenges is shortage of talent, which we're familiar with, and recruiting in competitive workspace. I'm also very familiar. But can you share with us a little bit more about some of the attraction tools and insights you've used to help with your attraction efforts? And I'm sorry, there's been a
Have we got a
revolving in the background to the talent analytics just for a headline. But sorry, it was flicking through and through and through.
Yeah.
So, just to give you an idea.
Absolutely. So the approach that was taken for all of our volume hiring has always been a bit of a scattergun approach, which you would have heard Cassie mention earlier. You know, that tends to be oh my God, we've got a massive number we need to reach. How are we going to get that number? And it can be a bit, again,
Not going down there for you this time.
You're going to have to edit this out, by the way. It can be a bit chaotic. So we decided to go through and implement a campaign-led approach, which gives us more control. We know end-to-end what candidates are coming through to the pipeline, what we're processing, what we're rejecting, etc. We know each stage that they're at in the funnel, which has been really, really kind of successful for us. We're not there on all of them, I don't think, yet. Are we campaign? I shouldn't be asking you this, Sue, should I really? But campaign-led on all of the volume. Yeah, we are campaign-led on all 3 distinct areas now, which is pretty good. And then in terms of the tooling, labour market analytics has obviously driven the decision around where we hire. Obviously, customer demand plays a huge part in that, but we are trying to be as transparent with the business as we can and say, look, your customer demand is here, but the market's actually telling us that the pool of candidates that sit there, you're not going to reach that target unless you start looking at it in a different way. And start putting a different method of attraction in place. So we've tried quite a few things to kind of drive those numbers up. But in our industry, and I don't know who's here that kind of works in a similar industry to us, it's a very difficult market to recruit into. And the way that we recruit plays a big part in that. We're very granular. So we're volume, but we are very granular because we hire into small areas that we call pods. And those... Katie, the talent lead for Octopus Energy, is over here. She's laughing because it is literally a challenge every single day. But yeah, the labour market analytics really drove that for us. And the campaign-led approach is definitely what's helped us kind of keep control of everything. We know exactly where those candidates are coming from and where they are.
Brilliant. But with such a high volume of applicants, how do you maintain such a positive candidate experience throughout the process? And I know we have a video we're able to share in a minute. Yeah.
So there's 2 things I want to mention here. One of them is that our talent team, they really do pride themselves on delivering a personal service to each candidate. So they like to be in contact with every single candidate, which actually on the face of it can be a little bit of a challenge because it means that most talent partners are calling candidates on a regular basis. But really the main thing was the implementation of the blended assessment that was created. So we knew that candidates were getting, I don't know really how to put this, but a traditional recruitment service. And when you're processing a high volume recruitment campaign of, over 5,000 candidates, it's not sustainable to have your talent team contacting every single candidate. How enthusiastic are they going to be on every call? Are they actually showcasing? They're going to be dead soon, aren't they? Are they going to be showcasing, the business and giving these potential new hires a real, insight into our business? Probably not. They can talk about it, but they're not actually visually showing it. The blended assessment kind of ticks all of those boxes. So that part of the process was actually really amazing because we built a bespoke blended assessment and we got everybody involved in each business area to be part of that. And what actually come out of it was something that it gives us goosebumps because we work for Octopus and we love what's been produced. But it gives our candidates a real insight into what it is that they're coming into potentially. And we also know that all the questions that we're asking are really relevant to what we look for in a person that joins us. We had no values as a business. Again, it's just not the Octopus way, but we created values that we needed to assess against, which was another big part of what Octopus helped us with as part of the storyboard creation when they were putting out the blended assessment for us.
And Sarah's very kindly, I can get all going back up again, given us the opportunity to take a quick look at the blended assessment that we built for her. So hopefully,
do we have sound?
There's no sound again. Delayed.
Joining me now is Greg Jackson, who is the founder and CEO.
We do have a slide in the office, by the way. I have been down it.
Hi, I'm Greg Jackson, the founder and chief executive of Octopus Energy. I'm really glad that you've chosen to think about joining us. Thank you. I hope that this process is going to enable not only us to find out more about you, but you to find out more about us. The mission we're on. Look, today, fewer than 5% of homes have got low carbon technologies. And yet over the next 10 or 20 years, it'll be the majority of homes. It's our job to be able to deliver that faster, more efficiently, better value, and higher quality than anyone's ever expected. We want this to be a great career move for you. We're committed to building the skills and training, whatever roles are required, and real career progression. As we grow this company, in 8 years, we've gone from nothing to nearly 10,000 people. This is creating tremendous career opportunities, and yet we're only just beginning. So, I hope during this process, you find out enough about us that you might choose to join. And I want to wish you the very best of luck. If you're right for it and right for you, you're going to be part of this fantastic team making a real difference.
Hi, I'm Katie, and I'm Senior Talent Partner at Octopus Energy. I'm here to talk to you.
Not going to play the whole video, is it?
Just something that we ask all candidates to complete. It's designed to look at how you'll interact with and support our customers, how passionate you are for delivering effective solutions, and how agile you can be in your approach.
You're saved,
Saved,
Katie.
Katie.
But there's some. It's not going to start again, is it? I think it might.
Our business is
Oh, no,
built on
it's-
outrageously good customer service. And whatever role you
I'll stop here. But we can share, if you want to have a little look, we can do something else. But we'll return to this, I think, a little bit in a minute. But obviously, there was huge changes in terms of process when you joined the business. Can you talk about some of the particular challenges that you face and how you've overcome them?
I'll be honest with you, the biggest thing was the stakeholder piece. So they're used to kind of one-to-one interviews with candidates, using their kind of feeling around a candidate, not actually any kind of scoring matrix or any assessment framework that personally you absolutely need in any recruitment process that you've got, but it's absolutely imperative that you've got it in a volume setting. We had to bring them on that journey. So I'd say that was probably the biggest thing. And we did bring them on the journey. And I think a lot of them absolutely took to it. And there were obviously a few people that didn't, because they don't particularly like change. The other thing I think was kind of the industry specifics that we needed to really keep in mind. You know, when you're hiring plumbers and electricians and smart meter engineers, these people aren't going to be thinking about doing any sort of online assessment. They're thinking, I'm going to apply for a job, I'm going to be interviewed, I'm going to be trades tested, I'm going to get that role or I'm not. So again, it was a real change for the candidate, and we've done a piece of work and we're still working on it. It's still evolving now around how we can kind of let candidates know what they're coming into, and trying to be as transparent as we possibly can around, look, you know, this is what our business, we want to make sure that you're seeing what we're like before you choose us, because it is absolutely a two-way street. And I think that will continue to evolve. It's not something we'll stop looking at. We'll keep looking at ways that we can kind of let candidates know, this is part of our process, but it benefits you. This isn't a test. It's, for us to see whether or not you're fit for our business, but ultimately to see if you actually want to come and work for us as well.
So I was going to say, finally, could you share some key takeaways? But they're already there. But they've been split out into 3 key areas. Is there, moving forward, is there anything that you feel that could have been done differently about your sort of implementation of all these changes?
Do you know, there probably are quite a few things that we could have done differently, but we work at such fast pace. And I think probably some more planning would have been beneficial. And I think we went out with 3 business areas relatively quickly. And what we should have done is we should have trialed one business area first. But it is true Octopus style. And obviously I'm quite fast. It made sense for us to kind of like, do you know what, let's just see what happens. And then we'll measure to see which business areas have been successful and which ones haven't been. And to be really transparent with you all, they've all performed differently. So for example, our electrician hiring, the completion rate on getting that blended assessment is a lot higher than it would be on air source heat pumps. So we know that there is something going on there that candidates from this world, air source heat pump world, aren't actually thinking about doing that blended assessment, and we have to really encourage them to get them to do that. And sales and customer service, it's like there's no issue there at all. They are all, applying and then doing their blended assessment relatively quickly. But I think if I'm really honest, I probably would have stuck with one business area, followed that through for 3 to 6 months, then moved on.
We're also doing apprentices for you, of course.
Oh,
as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
We get about apprentices.
No,
we manage
it's
them
so smooth.
seamlessly. We don't.
So
That's
smooth.
not what our conversation is.
No.
Our conversation is usually
the apprenticeship side of things. So we are an apprenticeship provider. Again, this is something that was set up in the last year, and there was no framework. No assessment framework set up. There was, we're recruiting across the UK. So how do we do that without having to actually set up assessment days? And what we did was we actually, again, utilised Amberjack to put together a virtual assessment platform for us, which has been absolutely incredible. Previously, when we've done any virtual assessing, what's actually happened is the team that's actually running the assessment will just do it on Teams or Google. And the platform that we've used through Amberjack it's just a much more engaging platform. It is extremely organised. There are rooms that each candidate can go into. There's prep that they can do. It's very interactive. And that's absolutely really helped us with our apprenticeships and our customer service and our sales.
Definitely. And I think the last thing, we've got a couple of minutes before the next session to the round table to just see if there's any immediate questions for Sarah, not for me, for Sarah. I don't.